Morant with a running start. Elevates. Oh, it dunks. Oh, my goodness.
Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn. His heat is gone. Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining. Conley now with three. Count it. A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance.
Adams going long. Morant. He hit it. John Morant. Insanity.
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. My name is Keith Parrish. The Grizzlies were the star of the show as NBA free agency opened up on Monday evening. They locked down Jaren Jackson Jr. on the long-awaited renegotiation and extension. They kept Santi Aldama with a 3-year deal. They made a big surprise by acquiring free agent Ty Jerome for an unexpectedly low amount. They also gave Cam Spencer a deal to join the main roster. So a lot of Grizzly stuff to go over in this brief amount of time since free agency has opened. Before we get to it, just a reminder, if you want to support the creation of this show, you can do that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. If you join my Patreon, you can join the listener Slack channel. We have a Grizzlies Slack channel where we've been talking about all this stuff as the news broke, as we tried to figure out exactly what the deals were. If you want to join that, if you want to get also some bonus episodes and bonus content, it's at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. All right, let's go in order of Shams Charania tweets. Maybe that's the best way to go through this exciting evening of Grizzlies news where lots of things happened. The first thing we got out of Shams was that the Grizzlies had worked out a, quote, maximum renegotiation and extension with Jaren Jackson Jr. Now, this just happened a couple of hours ago as I record right now. I'm not totally sure what he meant by maximum here, but it's a big deal, and there are details still to be worked out. But the important part is they have renegotiated last year Jaren's deal for this upcoming season. Then they've added 3 years onto that, plus another year, the final year, which is the 2029-2030 season. That is a player option. So this is reported as a 5-year, $240 million deal. Kevin Pelton from ESPN, his math is saying what they mean here is $217 million in new money. But again, the bullet point is it's essentially a 4-year extension going on the end of this current contract, which starts, or the final year of his current contract, which is the 2025-2026 season. And then the last year of that deal is a player option. So that's good news. I mean, we lock Jaren down. You prevent him from going into free agency, into unrestricted free agency next year. You lock down one of your best players in Jaren Jackson Jr. Of course, when this news came out, we've been waiting for it, but we've been waiting for the explicit details of how exactly they were going to do this because they lacked the cap space to make this happen. Now, as I record this right now near 8 p.m. Central Time, I still don't know exactly how they're making it happen. The way it seems they're making it happen is they are waiving and stretching Cole Anthony's contract. Now, I don't have that as an absolute certainty. That's not confirmed. Shams had a weird tweet that was hard to understand, talking about working out a resolution with Cole Anthony's reps at Excel Sports to give the Grizzlies the necessary cap space. Well, we know Cole's not going to give back his whole salary. That's not a thing that happens. We know no team is taking Cole Anthony for free. Like Shams followed this up by saying Cole Anthony is entering the marketplace, as in the free agent marketplace, meaning he's been waived. And to create the cap space, he can't just waive Cole Anthony because he had a $13 million contract plus a team option for the year after that. We all infer that, that means the Grizzlies just waived him and stretched that money, meaning they're going to have dead money on the books for this year and then the following 2 seasons. I don't feel like that's an ideal bit of business, but they did what they have to do. I mean, technically, if you want to do the full tally of things the Grizzlies had to do to create the necessary cap space to renegotiate and extend Jaren Jackson Jr. These are all the things you did to keep Jaren from going into unrestricted free agency. And of course, at that point, he still could have re-signed with your team. But they apparently stretched Cole Anthony after him being involved in the Desmond Bane trade. Of course, they declined Jake LaRavia's option last season. Jake LaRavia signs a new contract with the Lakers. Congratulations to him, a 2-year, $12 million deal. Of course, they used a second-round pick to salary dump Zaire Williams. Zaire Williams signed a new deal with the Nets. Congratulations to him. They also, of course, used the 18th pick in this year's draft to salary dump Marcus Smart's contract last year. So they salary dumped Smart and Zaire Williams. They got rid of Jake LaRavia. They stretched Cole Anthony. They also stretched, of course, Mabade Diakite. All of that to give Jaren Jackson Jr. this contract. So, Jaren Jackson Jr. is a great player. I'm not going to go over his qualifications for receiving this money. I think absolutely it's a fair contract. It's a good contract. Jaren is a huge impact player. He does the things that affect winning. Plays great defense. He is an unbelievable scorer. Really good scorer. I think he's comfortably a top 30, top 20 player around there in the NBA. This is what they get paid. He's still very young. Still can get better. The money by itself is a great deal. All the things it took the Grizzlies. Also, I should probably include, it also meant they did not get involved in free agency the last 2 seasons or 3 seasons. They didn't sign any free agents because they didn't want to add any money. They didn't trade for any players that would have more money. So there's an opportunity cost for the last 2 seasons there as well, all to keep Jaren Jackson Jr. Of course, quite notably, the Grizzlies haven't won a playoff series in a while either. But the happy news, Jaren Jackson Jr. returns. Seemingly that means they waived and stretched Cole Anthony's contract. All right, so that news broke. The Jaren Jackson Jr. news broke. Next up was Santi Aldama getting a 3-year, $52 million deal, $52.5 million deal, according to his representatives. Santi signs, I think, what we felt was a market value deal. I think 3-year, 17 a year is about what I was guessing, so 351, very close there. Santi, had a really good season, really good regular season last year, kind of faltered in the postseason, didn't really give you a lot. Of course, his defensive efforts and liabilities maybe showed up a bit in important games and as the team struggled down the stretch, but I think it's a fair contract. I don't think it's going to become a bad contract, and this turns out, I think, to be a great success story for the drafting of Santi Aldama, who, of course, was a 30th pick in the draft. I don't think it's that controversial, them keeping Santi Aldama. Of course, the front court right now decimated, as Zach Edey is going to miss the beginning of the year. Brandon Clark, they're hopeful he's going to return and be healthy by the beginning of the season, but your front court, it was Jaren, an injured Edey, a injury question mark guy in Brandon Clark, and then Jay Huff. So adding Santi, a 4, and he played some 3 last year, seems good. Also, you have to keep the scoring. You have to keep the shooting, I feel like, by moving on from Bane. Of course, Kennard not coming back. The shooting of Santi, the offensive Santi is important. And again, you might as well keep your guys. I don't think it's a bad deal. I think you could trade that deal if you ended up needing to later on down the line. The next bit of news was expected for a while, but then as the Grizzlies got involved in the draft, once they made the Desmond Bane trade and brought on extra players, it kind of had fallen back in my brain a little bit as far as thinking about it. It's just that Cam Spencer was given is going to be given a regular NBA contract. It's for 2 years, about $5 million. That essentially is, he's going to sign for the league minimum. And that's important, actually, because the way it's going to work, it's the order of operations are important with the very confusing salary cap. Since they did end up eventually creating cap space to renegotiate Jaren, that means they're a cap team. And that's going to be important for the Ty Jerome, the very surprising Ty Jerome signing, meaning they only had their room exception to work with. And they were able to keep Santi Aldama's cap hold. But once they pay Santi Aldama, they could only give, my understanding is they can only give Cam Spencer at this point a minimum contract. So he gets a minimum contract. He, of course, had some big impact plays last year playing on that two-way contract. We joked he was going to be the cheap replacement for Luke Kennard, and I think that worked out. He maybe provided a little bit more than Luke Kennard with that defensive spark, with the effort he plays with. So Cam Spencer has an opportunity perhaps to be more involved with the Grizzlies next year. And then the biggest news, I guess, beyond the Jaren Jackson Jr. thing, like the Jaren Jackson Jr. thing was anticipated and expected. The way they got there, apparently stretching Cole Anthony, a little bit surprising, but we figured they were going to get there with Jaren Jackson Jr. It seemed most likely they would bring Santi Aldama back into the fold. Getting Ty Jerome was, for me, totally unexpected up until the point Mark Stein mentioned it as a rumor over the weekend, where I was like, why would the Grizzlies get Ty Jerome? And I even, released an episode earlier on Monday where I spelled out, I'm confused how the Grizzlies would get Ty Jerome, because Ty Jerome, who finished third in the sixth man vote, was going to get paid more than the Grizzlies could afford to pay him. I was wrong. Ty Jerome available for the room exception. The Cavs chose to keep Sam Merrill for the same money that Ty Jerome got. I mean, Sam Merrill got more guaranteed money. It's a 3-year deal with a player option in year 3, but it starts at the room exception. The Grizzlies got Ty Jerome, who's a very interesting combo guard scorer. Unbelievable regular season. Fantastic shooting numbers, great three-point shooting numbers. His effective field goal percentage was over 60%, had a career year. I mean, he's done basically nothing before in his entire career, averaged over 12 points per game last year, playing for the 1 seed Cavaliers. It's interesting to me that this guy was available, and also available for just a salary starting under $9 million for next year. I do not think the fit is great with Ty Jerome, but having ball handling and shooting is something that is always needed. He's the type of guy you think would fit into any lineup. I don't think the defensive upside of like Ja and Ty playing together isn't great, really. But I think with the number of games that Ja Morant misses, having Ty Jerome, who can play on and off the ball, gives the Grizzlies a much better overall team look than what they would have had if Cole Anthony stuck around, or, what they had just without Ty Jerome coming in. And again, even if I don't love the fit, I think the contract is a home run. Ty Jerome on this deal is absolutely tradable. One thing I've started trying to say more and more is to remind Grizzlies fans that players signed for good deals are assets. That's a good thing to have. This whole explanation why the Grizzlies never use their MLE or anything. I mean, we were saving our cap space for the Jaren Jackson Jr. renegotiation summer. But this contract for Ty Jerome has value on its own. If things go poorly for the Grizzlies, if the fit is bad, you could still trade him for other stuff. But I think it's a very interesting acquisition, and you wonder how much of the perhaps offense that Tomas Isolo wants to run. He's like, man, we got to have more shooting and more ball handling, and Ty Jerome would be a perfect guy for it. So right now you're going to have this 3-point guard kind of platoon. I mean, Ja, obviously your starter. I assume right now Ty Jerome is going to keep that 6th man role, but like if Kentavious Caldwell-Pope misses games, it wouldn't surprise me if Ty Jerome starts at the 2 alongside Ja. But like, you have Ja, you have Scottie Pippen Jr., you have Ty Jerome to handle all 48 minutes of your point guard minutes. And then Ty Jerome also going to play a lot at the 2, I bet. And then, your wings are still a little bit questionable. Jalen Wells, we hope, is going to take that step forward. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, you hope he has more in the tank. Of course, our hopes are high for the rookie Cedric Coward. We hope Vince Williams Jr. can bounce back. You sprinkle in some Cam Spencer, some John Conchar here and there. By the way, congratulations to John Conchar. Still surviving, still around. We were certain he was going to be the answer for how do the Grizzlies create enough cap space, but John Conchar is still here. By the way, if this assumption that Cole Anthony has been waived and stretched, which I think it is right, the Grizzlies now have 15 players under contract for next season. It's possible. Like, they're done. Like, they finished up their roster before July 1st. The 15 guys under contract, let's guess the starters. Doesn't really matter, but let's guess the starters are John Morant, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Jalen Wells, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Zach Edey. Of course, Zach, again, going to miss the beginning of the season with his ankle surgery. Then your bench, you got Scottie Pippen Jr. and Ty Jerome, Cedric Coward, Santi Aldama, Brandon Clark. Maybe that's your 6 through 10 on the depth chart. Maybe someone like Vince Williams Jr. or Cam Spencer breaks into that. But then the rest of the players on the team, Cam Spencer, Vince Williams Jr., John Conchar, Gigi Jackson, and Jay Huff. Those are the 15 Grizzlies players. If you had to open up a roster spot, I mean, you don't want to waive Jay Huff. You probably could. I mean, you could stretch another player. I mean, we just got done paying Kennedy Chandler's contract. We already have Mamade Diakite's little bit of stretch money for next year. Now going to have some Cole Anthony dead money on the books, it looks like. But a very involved Monday for the Grizzlies. All over the news as they do these big things. And I guess I should go back to wrap up maybe with the Jaren money. It's not actually a max contract. I think when Shams says a maximum extension, they mean a maximum based off what the Grizzlies could carve out to pay him, because they could only extend him 140% off of his final year of this deal. So if they did renegotiate him, moving from $23 million in this upcoming season to $33 million, then in fact the maximum they could offer him after that would be $217, or less than that. Sorry, it would be $207 million. You add all that together with the new $10 million and this year's $23 million. Are you following the math? That equals the $240 million they talked about. But again, all this just happened a couple of hours ago. We don't have the specifics. Sometimes these numbers get rounded up. Famously, you remember Luke Kennard's like $11 million deal last year, and I joked, like, what if it's 8.5 plus $2 million in unattainable bonuses, and that rounds up to 11? And it turns out that's basically what the contract was. So we don't know all the details. But again, to wrap up this episode, this emergency update episode, I mean, Ty Jerome's a Grizzly. That's very surprising. That is not an outcome I saw occurring a week ago. So that part's exciting. Jaren Jackson Jr. is now signed to a long-term deal to stay with the Grizzlies. Santi Aldama going to continue his career with the Grizzlies. Cam Spencer gets that call-up, joins the regular roster, and now this might be the team that goes into the regular season. Of course, I think they still have a lot of work to do to become a team that can get out of the first round of the playoffs, but they do have flexibility. They have some of those matching contracts now. They still have some picks. They could do work this offseason. They might just wait and see what happens. Finally, I don't know if this is real, but there's a lot of stuff on social media that Jaren Jackson Jr. is changing his number to 8. Changing from 13 to 8. So I don't know if that's real or not, but I saw it on social media. I'll pass it along. I associate the number 8, of course, with James Ennis. But maybe you think of Lamar Stevens. It doesn't matter. Anyways, thanks everybody for listening to this special episode. If you want to support the creation of these shows, do that at patreon.com/fastbreakbreakfast. All right. Hope you have a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Go Grizz.